So today, it'll be the first go of that. I think we have a couple more of these planned over the next couple of weeks, and who knows, maybe it becomes a regular thing for us. Also, just want to give everybody a heads up that our other initiative is called SeedClub Hacks, which is a social token hackathon. Starts next Monday, the 13th. SeedClubHacks.com. You probably see it all over the internet. At least we'll try to make that happen. Some awesome bounties, I think close to $15,000 worth of bounties for developers that are working in that space. So we'd love to have you come build with us if you're a developer or looking to participate in some way. But enough about that. Today we're joined by Kevin Chou, who's a co-founder of Rally.io. Lots of stuff in the news this week from Rally, so excited to hear from you. And Brian is going to be leading the conversation. Brian is the founder of the Jam Session newsletter and rabbithole.gg, as well as being sort of a pioneer in the social token space. Very opinionated as always, so I'm interested to see where this conversation goes. So I'll turn it over to you, Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. Thanks for the introduction. So I'm really excited to be here with Kevin today. I've been working with Kevin and the team on their governance, and I'm really excited about what something they have in store. So Kevin, I want to kick it off to you first and just give a background on Rally and how you got into crypto, sort of the background on the entire project.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. So I started my career in the gaming industry. So I created a company called Kabam when I was 26 years old, about 15 years ago. And so I've been making games for over a decade. And then I started noticing a number of gaming folks get into crypto. And I got pulled in through a Counter-Strike, through a friend of mine who was creating a Counter-Strike Go skin trading thing. And you would trade Counter-Strike Go skins for Bitcoin, and you would settle in Bitcoin basically. And so that was like the first thing that pulled me into crypto. I was like, wow, this is awesome. And but I was like, oh, I don't quite get it. I'll just kind of watch it from afar. And then so I was probably back in 2015, and then 2017 with Ethereum and CryptoKitties in particular kind of drew me back into the space and being like, oh, I get it. It's not just a new form of currency anymore. It's actually a new compute layer that is tied in with the money itself, or programmable money. That was kind of the phrase that really sort of caught my imagination. And so I started thinking, at that time I had sold Kabam. And so I was kind of, I had started an esports team, and I was just kind of trying to think about what I was going to do next. And so with CryptoKitties and with what I was doing in the gaming space in the past, I was like, what if I create a way for us to tokenize people and tokenize communities, and not just at the money, part of it, but how do I take a lot of the powerful tools that we created for games and sort of make that available for anybody to use, but without having to do any coding, and to allow somebody to tokenize themselves, to create all sorts of NFTs and do other like really interesting smart contract work around their brand, around their digital identity. And so that was kind of the inspiration for Rally. And so we started the project about 2 years ago, and been working on creating a lot of the deep technology and infrastructure for over 2 years now, with this mindset. And a lot of people who look at Rally and be like, oh, well, social token, how hard could that be? We created this with a mindset of I really wanted to figure out how to pull the next 100 million people into crypto. And so all of the infrastructure, the wallet, the fiat on-ramps, identity systems, just anything that would allow somebody to come into the space and own crypto in the first 60 seconds. That's really what I wanted to do, because I think for the average consumer who's really interested in this stuff, to kind of really figure out how to set up a MetaMask, how to get some ETH to pay for gas through a centralized exchange, go through a KYC process, hook up a bank account, get that ETH, send it into a MetaMask wallet. Oh, and now I get to buy a CryptoKitty or buy like my first NFT or first thing. It would feel like, oh, wow, this is such a huge barrier. And so that was kind of the genesis for like Rally, was how do we make it easy? How do we get people and communities to be tokenized as a way to pull the next 100 million people into crypto, and then build out all of this really cool stuff to make it easy for the next several million people to come in and explore this crazy world with us, but to do it in a way that doesn't result in them pulling their hair out for several hours trying to figure it out.
Cool. Earlier this year, you launched Taki as part of Rally, sort of a alternative to Cameo. Can you talk a little bit about sort of your experience with that, why you created it before Rally, and sort of how it plays into the entire vision?
Right, Rally. So our core engineering team is working on all the blockchain and distributed computing systems and all the Solidity coding and so forth. So that's where the majority of our engineering work has been. And it's actually really hard to get those types of teams put together. And so while we were kind of building the team, building all of the core infrastructure, we had extra developers left over that were sort of more traditional sort of web front end developers. So we said, okay, well, we got a mismatch of resources a little bit. Eventually, we know we're going to want to do more sort of, we're going to need to build some portals and other things for people to use the blockchain tools we're building. But since we have a little bit of extra resources, why don't we take on a pretty easy, simple to use sort of application that somebody can come in and we can use it to start getting creators and digital influencers and TikTokers and Twitch streamers and whatever. Like, we can use this as a new service to get them to try something new, get experience with us, build a relationship with them, help them earn some money, so that when we then launch our social token or creator coin, we can say, hey, you've made a couple $100,000, you made $10,000 with us, on Taki. Why don't you come check out, creating your own creator coin? So on Taki, we have over 250 creators that we've been working with, including some pretty big names like Daniel Cormier in the MMA space, and Torvos, and a few of these other folks that have like 1 million to 5 million, followers on TikTok and Instagram and so forth. So it was a way to get people to work with us, start creating a tool for them to take control of their economic destiny. We take no fees on that. And then eventually when we launched the Rally network, the blockchain component of what we do, we then be like, hey, we've been working together for a while. Come trust us a little bit. We know this crypto thing is a little bit weird, but create your own coin, try some things out with us. So that was Taki.
Fast forward 6 months, so now you're planning to bring Rally to Ethereum mainnet. Question for you is why Ethereum in the first place? If you're building Rally on a sidechain infrastructure, wouldn't you want to keep it all on the sidechain?
So our sidechain is actually just a very simple parity Ethereum, like vanilla node. But it's just, we don't deal with consensus, right? So we're not trying to do, some crazy new consensus methodology. Like, all we really wanted was just to build it in such a way that we can scale it and be ready for eventually what we now call, think of as ETH2. So our sidechain is really just a very simple Ethereum node already, but it just doesn't talk to any other like mainnet Ethereum nodes. And the whole idea, we want everything that we do at Rally to be decentralized and on a totally trustless network. I think that's really important for something like Rally, where whether you're in the United States or in a pretty free country, and you get to you're using YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok or something, and you're worried about like, oh my gosh, this platform owns all of my fan relationships, it owns all of my monetization. I want to use something like Rally to make sure I've got another way to have a direct relationship with my fan base. Or of course, when you live in in another place in the world that you're worried about your government or whatever. We really want Rally to be decentralized. I think that's just such an important thing. And then the second thing that we want to ensure is that whether you're wherever you are on the political spectrum or anything else, that this is truly, that we're not sitting here making decisions about what you can do or not do on the Rally network, that this is truly, again, a community-run network. And so when we launch it, the ability to come into Rally is going to be decided by the holders of Rally token, not by us as a traditional company. And so when we think about starting on our sidechain, it's a long way of saying we start on our sidechain, we start with an Ethereum node. But our goal is to make sure as fast as we can get this onto Ethereum mainnet when the scalability is there, and when we can all figure out a new model for transaction fees that kind of make more sense, besides just crazy DeFi whales trading on Ethereum. But Ethereum, like then the question is, well, why Ethereum? And I still think I'm excited as anyone else about some of these new smart contract layer ones, but the reality is that Ethereum is where all the action is, and a lot of the other L1s at this point are still kind of figuring out their ecosystem. And the way to create the most trust from a decentralized approach is to do it on Ethereum. So that's where we wanted to be.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. To talk to us a little bit about the about sort of the governance process. It has a pretty interesting governance process about having creators getting whitelisted and having the creators on board. You think this will have a bunch more creators having their own social tokens? What's kind of the outlook, or what type of success do you hope to come out of kind of the Rally governance launching next week?
I think for one of the important areas that we haven't tapped into yet is crypto creators. And so these might be people who, certainly writers, but YouTube, content creators, and obviously just people who are super active on Twitter, and have a big, community there. And so I think that was a really important thing for us to say, we need to be on mainnet. We're going to launch this thing and truly make this a governance and design a governance methodology for something that's kind of social in nature, but for crypto, like really people who are really deep in crypto, right? And so we're not expecting, the average TikToker or something to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to dive into all this governance, stuff. We hope we can get more and more people there and interested to participate. But I think to start to decentralize something like Rally, we need to go to where the crypto community is and start with crypto creators and crypto communities and crypto brands. And so we're really excited about our upcoming launch. Next Thursday. We've been working on this for a while, and so I'm super excited to really turn Rally over to the community. And this isn't just some, like a lip service to decentralization or governance. I think one of the reasons for asking for your help, and we've been working with Ian Lee and Joe Gerber and a number of other folks on kind of designing our governance system. And we really wanted this to be designed by folks who have been thinking about this for a while and interested in the community aspect. And it's going to continue to evolve. So I'm super excited to see where it goes, just as much as you are, Brian.
One of the really interesting aspects to me that got me interested in Rally is sort of the way that the social tokens are issued and distributed, right? It solves a lot of my own problems, my own jam token, in a lot of ways that, we've discussed. And I'm really interested to trying to figure out how to get more crypto creators issuing their own social tokens and being comfortable with the fact of just having their own social token in general, because it is a really scary thing kind of for most people right now. So like, can you talk a little bit about like the ways that, Rally helps, help the social token distribution and ways token bonding curve kind of helps that, and sort of the difference between, just launching your own ERC20 on kind of Ethereum mainnet?
Yeah, I think you bring up something that is probably our biggest friction point, which is just somebody feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm going to create a cryptocurrency that's going to live on forever. And, that seems like a pretty high bar. And I think of it as, what we've seen with projects, especially in the 2020 era of DeFi, is that, projects get made and launched in a few weeks, right? Because it's getting easier and easier to build something on Ethereum, right? So back in 2017, when I was thinking about starting Rally, it's kind of a lot of work and a lot of effort to like create even an ERC20 back then. And now creating an ERC20 literally takes a few minutes, and then you're up and running with a plain vanilla ERC20. And I think with Rally, we want to bring the bar down even further for somebody who's like totally non-technical, no code. And so this idea that you're going to create this token and it's going to be the one token for the rest of your life, like we don't even get married for the rest of our lives anymore, like, for a lot of people in the world, right? So this idea that like you're a person, and let's say you wanted to start a DeFi, community. Well, great, like create a token and do that. Just like you would have a new, website or a new, email address or something like that for that thing, right? And so I think tokens are going to be like that as well. There's really no limit to our ability to create, new tokens. I think people, communities, businesses, they're going to have many tokens, just like you would have many websites, many email addresses, many bank accounts, over time. And so we really want to lower the bar for that and just make it super simple to create something new. And that's what the Rally, our design does in terms of the bonding curve to provide automatic liquidity. So even if your token has just $500 of total liquidity, so to speak, in a month, great. Like we'll handle all of that for you without having to, create Uniswap pairs and trading fees for very small sort of, community tokens. But obviously if you're a big, huge celebrity, you can come on here too. And we handle, markets as big as you'd like through the design that we have.
Yeah, I find that point like really interesting of kind of was like abstracting that entire like social token issuance away. Like the reason why Substack got really popular this year with creators is because they made it really seamless, to have your own publication, even though that Ghost or like the Open CMS platform, is really customizable and really flexible into what you want to have, right? So maybe sort of if we follow the Substack thesis that if we have, easier controls to launch and issue a social token and don't have to worry about managing liquidity or anything like that, maybe we can have, thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, creating their own social tokens, right? So I'm really excited for Rally, having that, out of the box solution for a lot more people being comfortable just, having their own social token, just like how anyone can, create a publication on Substack and feel like writing, right? One topic we didn't cover that it's kind of the last question before we open up for questions here is I want to talk about the interesting token distribution you have for the Rally token, right? You announced today that you open source the code for the Wi-Fi delegation vaults, right? And that's a really novel mechanism for distributing the Rally token. Can you talk a little bit about that, sort of like why you did it, sort of like the value that it brings to the community, trying to growing that the treasury and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I was lucky enough because, this is my fourth company, I guess, or project, I should say. And so we were able to raise a seed round that, covered, the things that we needed in terms of actual payroll and server costs and AWS costs, et cetera. So, and then I was always very careful, and actually, my last company was, Gen G is now at 150 people. The previous, Caban was at 1,200 people. I really wanted to start Rally and keep it as small as possible. So this idea that we were going to always be a decentralized organization, we took that super seriously as we first got started, even though none of us really knew exactly how we would do that. We thought, someday we'll end up as a foundation or something. But I think in 2020, there's a much more clear path for how to decentralize. And so we were lucky in that we're just always super cost conscious and kept the team super small, such that we're still at a point where we have plenty of traditional sort of US dollar capital left to continue building for however long we want. And so the cool thing is that we wanted to with this launch, we didn't need to say, we need money to pay for engineers and developers and front end designers or anything else. We really wanted this treasury that we're building to be a fully community controlled treasury, right? And so the idea of like having to raise a bunch of money in a big IDO or ICO back in the day, wasn't something we needed. So we said, all right, well, we'll do this thing where we'll kind of play to the DeFi, what's happening in DeFi, which I'm just been fascinated by, which is we'll accumulate a treasury over time. So we only get a treasury as we earn yield from Wi-Fi vaults. And, so for example, let's say you were to get one DAI from a Wi-Fi vault, well, we would give you one DAI's equivalent of Rally token, based on Rally price. And so that's how we're going to accumulate our treasury. And the treasury will be, at owned by all Rally token holders from day one. And the other cool thing about it is because we're not paying engineering salaries or audits or anything else from from this community treasury, right away, we can have the treasury grow and compound. And so the idea of like even holding ETH or stable coins in the community treasury for the next 2 or 3 years or whatever kind of doesn't make sense. We wanted to say, gosh, we have all this innovation happening in DeFi. Why don't we hold our community treasury in a compounding, vehicle in crypto? And so hopefully this community treasury grows and becomes larger and larger over the next few years, as the community comes together around a project like this. So that's kind of how we decided to, to do this and have a pretty unique distribution mechanism, because we're not trying to raise a bunch of money for the project.
All right, we're gonna open up for questions here. There's a few in the chat right here. Kanan, why don't we start with your question? This is, a pretty common question. What's wrong with the current model? Ninja makes millions of dollars streaming per month, like in sponsorships. Like, why does he need a token?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a few things that you could do with a token that you just can't do with normal money. And I think when I talk to game, audiences about crypto, it's actually, it's a funny thing because they get it right away, which is like, I don't know how many gamers are here, but if you ever play a game, pretty much any modern game today, where you can buy stuff, in the game, that it never happens in US dollars. You're always buying, gems or platinum or gold or some other thing in the game, right? You'll pay $20 US for, let's say, 980 gold or something like that. And the reason that games do it is because you want to manage your own economy. You want to manage your own inflation. You want to design pricing. You want to design all sorts of things and have the flexibility to do that you don't get if you denominate everything in a game or in a virtual environment in US dollars. And so, and when it comes to crypto and tokenizing people and communities and brands, it's even more important to have full control of your own money. So for example, one thing that you can't do if you're Ninja and you create a Ninja coin, for example, is that you can give away, you can be like, look, I'm making whatever, millions of dollars on sponsorships and ads and all these other things. I want to just thank you for being a loyal fan. Anybody who's been following me on Twitch or a subscriber for over a year, I'm going to give you a bunch of tokens, right? Or look at what Rack, did, for his Rack drop. Like he just gave it away to fans who've been supporting him on Patreon and on Twitch and, in crypto. And so you can literally give this new thing to your fans in a way that you can't do if you would literally have to go into your bank account and take your US dollars and give it to people, right? If you were to do it any other way. The other thing is that it aligns incentives together, over time, right? So let's say you're Ninja and you issue your new token, right? Now a fan who got that token, whether it's for free, whether they earned it or whether they bought it, and let's say Ninja continues to do cool stuff over the next few years, you as that fan get to feel like I hold a Ninja coin. This gives me this is like belonging to the special, Ninja club. And I want to see Ninja become even more successful. And I'm going to do things to help Ninja become more successful because now I'm also economically incentivized to do that. Versus if I just pay Ninja $5 for a subscription, like great, I'm supporting him. I know that $5 goes to Ninja, but I'm no longer vested. Like great, now Ninja's got millions and millions of dollars and he's getting sponsored by Red Bull or whatever. But okay, what do I get as a fan? As the first fan that supported Ninja, I just get to say I was part of it, I guess. Versus imagine that first fan that supported Ninja having earned a bunch of Ninja tokens, back in the day, right? What would that do to that community? So I think that's, so I think even for big stars, there's like a really important aspect of, hey, I'm going to give back to my community and really use this as a way to reward people who've been a supporter for a long time. And then for new, for new creators and new influencers and people who aspire to create a new community, it's a way to, again, just, be right at the cusp of like, how do I get a bunch of people together and all be incentivized together to grow this thing and to participate in it for the long term with me.
Cool, great. I think we should ask Scott's question here. It's really interesting. How does Rally empower companies or brands, one-off small teams to get off the ground? Like, is it just for influencers or creators, or can it be used for things outside of just individuals?
Yeah, I mean it's we think about it as just a really easy way to create a token, right? And so you can certainly, you know, you can use it for anything that you would with a you know, if you went out and got 10 engineers to create a custom designed, you know, token, maybe it's layer 1 or whatever, like you could do the same things that you would do on the Rally token, you know, with that. So we hope to see like interesting use cases, you know, come out. We're certainly seeing, we have a bunch of musicians, we've got some traditional athletes and so forth. So they're going to use this to basically launch their fan club. And so there's going to be some cool stuff, you know, that's coming down the road from that. We've got some big esports organization and a bunch of esport players are going to try some cool stuff with like collectibles, like, you know, autograph selfies and that are verifiably, you know, scarce, and just a bunch of cool things that we're going to be trying out with these new tokens as we get them off the ground. So I think we're all going to be learning together and experimenting, and it's going to be an exciting journey.
One last question here. I'll do June's question. Tell us a little bit about this. So there's some Twitch streamers on the platform right now that have their own, you know, have their own token. What's their experience been like? What are some of the cool use cases that come out of that? And generally, what have the, you know, reactions been from fans like on those streams as well?
We're really excited about what we're seeing. I think fans love it. The creators really enjoy creating new experiences. We've been, because of our mainnet launch, there hasn't been an easy way to sell your tokens, you know, for US dollars just yet. Partly by going to because, you know, we do take very seriously this idea of like not having AML. So on the mainnet, you know, great. On Ethereum, you operate on Ethereum, you can be pseudonymous, you could hold everything in a MetaMask. But in terms of if you're coming in and out of US dollars, we've set up and worked with a partner. Again, this idea of how do we easily on-ramp the next 100 million people into, you know, crypto. If you're coming in and out via US dollars or other, you know, major currencies, we are going, you know, our partner will be doing KYC and AML and so forth, and just making sure that those things are copacetic. And so, you know, the way that, so we haven't been able to create the full experience yet. The other thing we haven't been able to do is we've got, you know, we published our token supply distribution, and we've got network rewards. So every day there will be different ways to earn Rally tokens programmatically through the community that you're participating in. So there's a bunch of really cool stuff that's going to come, but we're already pretty excited that we're seeing, you know, some of the creators really lean into it and feel like they, you know, they're like on the cut. Like a lot of creators actually just want to be the cutting edge of innovation. They want to be like, hey, I'm doing and trying something new, and we're going to figure this out together as a community. And so that's been really empowering for our creators that have gotten on so far. And we've seen, you know, we're sitting at something like $30,000 of transactions in the first month. You know, and it's all small dollar volume. So there's not like a big whale coming in for $1,000 even. I mean, these are $5, $10 transactions that are happening. And so we're pretty excited to see that, and then add, you know, this whole new world of what's happening on Ethereum, and you know, kind of link these two things together, and have that happen next Thursday.
That's awesome. Yeah, really excited about that launch. You guys can kind of check out rally.io right now and play around with the interface, and you see like creator coins. It's been really fun to see all the streamers getting involved so far. Jess, I'm gonna hand it back off to you to close, and yeah, Kevin, appreciate coming on again.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Thanks, Jess.
Yeah, awesome, Kevin. Thanks for such a strong lead-off performance of the SeedClub chats programming here. Both Brian, you guys, that was awesome. For folks who are joining here, if you didn't have your question answered, luckily we are live on the internet, so just shared some links in the chat where you can follow Kevin, you can follow Rally, and you can also keep up to date with SeedClub. We'd love to see you in the Discord, Kevin. I'd love to see you in there as well, and we look forward to seeing your launch next week. Big week for you. We wish you well. Thanks again for everybody for joining, and again, I'm Jess with SeedClub, and see you on the internet.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Thanks.
Everyone.
Bye.